Imagine driving through a thick fog at twilight. The road disappears into the trees. The silence is so deep it presses on your chest. And somewhere out there, a mother and daughter have just vanished. Not a scream, not a trace, just ... gone. The Mount Holly Plantation wasn't known for anything unusual. Just another quiet stretch of land in South Carolina minus 6,000 acres of woods, swamps, and history no one cared to revisit. But in the fall of 1987, it became something else. Something darker. First, it was Karina Malinowski, a 23-year-old mother of 3. She stepped out of her small cabin after a fight with her husband and vanished before the night was over. Her car was found near the plantation gate, locked, alone, silent, no signs of struggle, no footprints, just eerie stillness. Then, 1 year later, as if the plantation hadn't already taken enough, her 11-year-old daughter Annette disappeared to same spot, same silence. Only this time, she left a note. Dad, Mom came back. I have to go with her. Those words became a ghost of their own, haunting investigators, family, and an entire town that still doesn't know what happened. This isn't just a missing persons case. It's a puzzle wrapped in decades of silence. A mystery that swallowed 2 lives whole and left nothing behind but questions. So what really happened at Mount Holly? Was this the work of someone they knew? Something darker in the woods? Or was it a quiet escape from a life full of secrets? Let's go back to where it all began. Imagine driving through a thick fog at twilight. The road disappears into the trees. The silence is so deep it presses on your chest. And somewhere out there a mother and daughter have just vanished. Not a scream, not a trace, just ... gone. The Mount Holly Plantation wasn't known for anything unusual. Just another quiet stretch of land in South Carolina minus 6,000 acres of woods, swamps, and history no one cared to revisit. But in the fall of 1987, it became something else. Something darker. First it was Karina Malinowski, a 23-year-old mother of 3. She stepped out of her small cabin after a fight with her husband and vanished before the night was over. Her car was found near the plantation gate, locked, alone, silent, no signs of struggle, no footprints, just eerie stillness. Then, 1 year later, as if the plantation hadn't already taken enough, her 11-year-old daughter, Annette, disappeared too. Same spot, same silence. Only this time, she left a note. Dad, Mom came back, I have to go with her. Those words became a ghost of their own, haunting investigators, family, and an entire town that still doesn't know what happened. This isn't just a missing persons case. It's a puzzle wrapped in decades of silence. A mystery that swallowed 2 lives whole and left nothing behind but questions. So what really happened at Mount Holly? Was this the work of someone they knew? Something darker in the woods? Or was it a quiet escape from a life full of secrets? Let's go back to where it all began. It was a cold Saturday night, November 21st, 1987. Inside the Malinowski cabin on Mount Holly Plantation, the air was tense. Karina and Stephen had been arguing again. No one knows exactly what was said, but neighbors later reported hearing raised voices and a heavy silence that followed. Something had clearly shifted. Sometime that evening, Karina stepped out into the chilly dark. Maybe she just needed air. Maybe she needed space. Or maybe she knew this was her moment to go. She got in the car and drove off alone. Not far, just far enough to feel distance to breathe. Her headlights sliced through the trees lining the narrow plantation road, flickering against the iron gate that stood like a sentinel at the property's edge. Then, nothing. Karina was never seen again. Her car was found later that night, parked at the front gate of the plantation, just outside the caretaker's cabin. It was locked. Her purse was missing. The vehicle itself showed no signs of struggle, no broken windows, no blood, no clues, just silence. Stephen claimed he thought Karina had gone to cool off, but as hours turned into a full day with no word, concern grew. When she didn't show up for her job at the convenience store the next day, the alarm was finally raised. Police were called. Search teams began combing the area. Volunteers, deputies, dogs, helicopters, they all moved through the thick woods and overgrown trails surrounding the plantation. They searched the swamps. They traced creek beds. They examined every shed, trail, and patch of disturbed earth they could find. But they found nothing. No footprints, no torn clothing, no drag marks. Not even a cigarette butt or a shoe print. It was as if the trees themselves had closed in and swallowed her whole. Stephen was questioned. He agreed to a polygraph test, but the results came back inconclusive. Not a pass, not a fail, just unclear. And that became the story's theme. Unclear, unknown, unanswered. The police kept searching for weeks, but eventually, winter came. Leads dried up, and Karina Malinowski's name was added to the growing list of missing persons in South Carolina. But Mount Holly wasn't finished yet. It would take almost a year before the mystery deepened. And when it did, it would pull in the one person Karina loved more than anyone, her daughter, Annette. The Mount Holly Plantation was no ordinary place to search. It was a maze of dense trees, tangled brush, and deep swamp water spread across thousands of acres. Most of it hadn't been walked in years. Search teams started with what they could see: the main trails, the cabin, the gate where Karina's car had been left. But the deeper they went, the more the plantation seemed to swallow the light. Thick vines wrapped around tree trunks like fingers. The ground was soft in some places, unstable in others. Dogs barked and pulled toward nothing. The air felt heavier with every step. Day after day, the teams pushed deeper into the woods. Helicopters hovered above, scanning with heat sensors and aerial cameras. Volunteers waded through freezing swamps, calling Karina's name over and over. But the plantation gave up nothing. There were no footprints leading away from the car, no broken twigs, no torn clothes, not even a scent trail for the dogs to follow. It was as if Karina had simply stopped existing the moment she turned off the engine. Stephen remained at home, taking care of their children. He gave few public statements and avoided most press. Some found his behavior odd, not emotional enough, not active enough in the search, but there was no evidence linking him to her disappearance. Just suspicion, just silence. Investigators searched the family cabin again. They interviewed co-workers, neighbors, family members, but no one had seen Karina. No one had heard from her. No one knew why she'd left or where she might have gone. And then, winter arrived. The search effort slowed. The forest grew even more silent. The case lost momentum. Life went on for the community. But for Karina's family, time stopped. She had no history of running away, no known mental health issues, no criminal record. She had children she loved, a job she showed up for, and a life, however complicated, that she hadn't planned to leave. So where was she? For the next 11 months, the name Karina Malinowski faded from headlines and news reports. But in October of the next year, nearly 1 year to the day, the quiet was broken again. And this time, it was her daughter who vanished. It was October 4th, 1988, nearly a year since Karina Malinowski disappeared without a trace. Her daughter, 11-year-old Annette, had been living with a foster family just minutes from Mount Holly Plantation. Her world was quieter now. No mother, no real answers. But every morning, she followed the same routine. She'll walk down the long gravel driveway to the edge of the plantation, the same gate where her mother's car had been found, and wait for the school bus. That morning was no different. Annette left on time. She had her backpack, her books, her usual quiet look. Her foster family said nothing seemed off. No signs of fear, no warning signs. But when the school bus arrived, Annette wasn't there. The driver waited a little longer than usual, then hopped. Still nothing, just the soft wind moving through the trees. The iron gate behind the bus stop stood tall and cold. There was no sign of anyone. At first, people thought maybe she had gotten sick, maybe she was late, maybe it was nothing. But hours passed, and Annette never arrived at school. By the afternoon, the worst fears had returned. The same fears that haunted the town the year before. Another disappearance, another and once again the same chilling location. But this time, there was a clue. Pinned to a wooden post near the bus stop was a handwritten note. It read, "Dad, Mom came back. I have to go with her. Give the boys lots of kisses and hugs, and also you too. Love, Annette." The note was in Annette's handwriting. It was childish, simple, and painfully honest. But what did it mean? Had Karina truly come back? Had she been alive this whole time, hiding somewhere, planning to reunite with her daughter? Or was someone pretending to be Karina to lure Annette away? Was the note coerced? Did Annette believe it? Or was she covering for something? Or someone? Theories spun fast, but answers were few. Search teams once again turned to the plantation. Deputies, dogs, volunteers. The woods were scoured inch by inch. But just like before, there were no tracks, no struggle, no broken branches. Nothing. It was as if the same force that took Karina had returned, the same silence, the same finality, same time of year. And now, both mother and daughter were gone. 2 disappearances. No evidence, no witnesses, no sounds, no struggle. Just the cold, quiet woods of Mount Holly Plantation. And 2 lives that disappeared inside them. With no physical clues to guide investigators, only theories remained. Over the years, people have tried to piece together what might have happened to Karina and Annette Malinowski. But every idea leads to more questions. Let's explore them, one by one. Theory 1. A planned disappearance. Some believe Karina chose to leave. Maybe she was overwhelmed by her life, the marriage, the isolation, and wanted a fresh start. Maybe she ran away and came back for Annette a year later. The note left by Annette is the heart of this theory. It says clearly, "Mom came back." That suggests reunion, planning, purpose. But this theory struggles with hard reality. There were no sightings of Karina after she disappeared. No phone calls, no financial records, no activity of any kind. How did a woman with limited resources survive for a year, completely hidden, and then return to get her daughter, only to disappear again? And why leave behind her sons? Most of all, how could both of them vanish without leaving even a footprint? Theory 2. Foul play by someone close. This is the theory that troubles people the most. And it points in one direction. Stephen Malinowski, Karina's husband and Annette's father. We know the couple had a volatile relationship. Witnesses described frequent arguments. Karina had spoken about leaving him. The night she vanished, they had a fight. Stephen was the last person to see her. He took a polygraph, but the results were inconclusive. Not a pass, not a fail, just vague. After Karina disappeared, Stephen stayed quiet. After Annette vanished, he moved to Florida and gave up custody of his sons. Red flags? Maybe, but no proof. There was no physical evidence linking him to either disappearance, no signs of violence in the home, no DNA, no witnesses, no confession. The suspicion lingers, but legally, there's nothing to hold on to. Theory 3. A stranger abduction. Could someone else, a stranger, have been watching the family? The plantation was vast, remote, and surrounded by forests and swamps. Perfect cover for someone who didn't want to be found. Some think a third party took Karina and later tricked or forced Annette into leaving using the memory of her mother as bait. It's a chilling thought. But again, no signs of struggle, no ransom, no follow-up communication. No credible suspects ever surfaced. Theory 4. An accident. Lost to the land. Mount Holly isn't just big. It's wild. Swamps, gator-infested waters, sinkholes, thick woods that can confuse even trained searchers. Could Karina have wandered off, gotten lost, and died in the wilderness? Could Annette have followed alone, scared and suffered the same fate? It's possible, but with helicopters, dogs, and dozens of trained searchers, you'd expect some sign. A shoe, a bone, a piece of clothing, anything. Yet the woods gave back nothing. In the end, each theory feels half right and half impossible. And maybe that's why this case continues to haunt everyone who hears it. After the second disappearance, the search faded. The community had exhausted its efforts. The woods had been scoured. The ponds had been searched. Investigators had hit dead ends at every turn. The case went cold. But Mount Holly didn't forget. In the 1990s, a team returned to the plantation and decided to drain one of the ponds. The water was murky, slow-moving, and thick with decades of plant growth. As the last of the water slipped away, a carpet was discovered lying at the bottom, rolled up, caked in mud, and eerily out of place. Some believed it could have been a clue, maybe even a sign of Karina's remains, hidden there for years. But the carpet was never tested, never taken seriously. It was documented, then dismissed. The chance to examine it with modern technology came too late. The carpet is now lost to time. Like so many other pieces of this puzzle, years passed. In 2000, an anonymous tip led search teams to a site in Sumter County. Cadaver dogs were brought in. The air was thick with a strange smell. Hope stirred again. But once more, nothing was found. The Malinowski case remained in the background, revisited, occasionally mentioned in local papers, whispered about in town. But there were no breakthroughs, no evidence, just silence. 2 disappearances, no suspects, and a plantation that stood still while the rest of the world moved on. But the story wasn't over yet. As time moved forward, Mount Holly Plantation did not change. The same trees stood tall. The same narrow roads twisted through the woods. The same cold iron gate greeted visitors with silent indifference. To outsiders, it looked peaceful, even beautiful. But to those who lived nearby, it was something else entirely. A place marked by sorrow. A place where people vanished. Some said the land was cursed. Others believed it simply held too many secrets. Karina's car, still found near that gate in old photos, became a symbol of the unanswered. A locked vehicle, a missing woman, a daughter who followed her into silence. The locals still talked, not loudly, but in hushed tones. Rumors spread through church basements and over cups of coffee in small diners. Some claimed to see figures moving in the trees. Others spoke of strange lights deep in the woods. Most just avoided the area altogether. Even those who didn't believe in the supernatural couldn't deny one thing: something was wrong with that place. Something that didn't sit right. Something you could feel in your chest when you got too close. Over the years, the plantation became more than just land. It became a symbol, a reminder of how fast a life can disappear, and how deep the earth can bury the truth. No matter how much time passed, Mount Holly remained, watching, waiting, whispering. Today, the names Karina and Annette Malinowski still echo through Berkeley County, not as statistics, but as symbols of unresolved loss. They are part of the local memory now. Their story has been passed down, whispered from one generation to the next. In classrooms, around kitchen tables, on late-night walks past the plantation road, people remember the woman who vanished after an argument. They remember the little girl who left a note at a bus stop, saying her mother had returned. They remember the silence that followed both. And while the official case sits cold, the emotional weight has never faded. Not for the family, not for the community, not for the investigators who tried and failed to bring answers. In the years since, documentaries, articles, and podcasts have tried to retell the story, to shine a light back onto the twisted path that led to people into darkness. Some versions lean toward true crime, others toward the supernatural, but none can change the facts. There are still no bodies, no suspects, no solid leads, only a handwritten note, a locked car, and a plantation that won't talk. Some mysteries are like that. They refuse to be solved. They become part of the land itself, buried beneath layers of time and silence. But remembering, truly remembering, is its own form of justice. And that's what this story is now. A reminder that some disappearances aren't just about missing people. They're about the spaces they leave behind, the questions that never fade, the shadows that never quite disappear even after all the lights go out. Even after decades, the case has never been officially closed. In 2018, the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office reopened the investigation with modern technology. They brought in drones, ground-penetrating radar, and digital mapping software tools that didn't exist when Karina and Annette vanished. They scanned the land inch by inch, hoping that somewhere beneath the soil, beneath the leaves and moss and silence, the truth might still be hiding. But even with these tools, the plantation remained quiet. It refused to give up its secrets. The mysterious carpet found in the drained pond was revisited in reports, but it had never been tested. And by then it was too late. Evidence, if it ever existed, was gone. Still, investigators pressed on. The case became a touchstone for those who work cold cases. A reminder that sometimes answers aren't lost because they're far away, but because they're buried in plain sight, just beneath our understanding. To this day, Karina and Annette's names remain in the system. Their files are still open. Every now and then a new tip comes in. A memory, a rumor, a theory. And the case breathes again, if only for a moment. But Mount Holly watches in silence. The trees still sway in the same rhythm. The gate still stands. The road still leads nowhere and everywhere. If you know something, anything about what happened to Karina and Annette Malinowski, contact the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office. Because sometimes it only takes one voice to break a silence. And after all these years, someone out there still knows the truth.